Tak, dobrý večer. Dobrý večer. Na začátku mám pro vás jednu dobrou zprávu. Teďka 2 hodiny ty notebooky nebudete potřebovat. Teda s výjimkou tady 2 děvčat, které budou připravovat na základě ty přednášky korsky. Takže normálně můžete v klidu pozavírat. Abyste se mohli plně soustředit na nové informace, které tady získáte. Že jo, Zajotu?
Jedno slovo jsem potřeboval dostat.
Co to piješ? Tak jo, tak můžem. Bude ještě potřebuje někdo něco dopsat. Když se hlásí vepředu ještě chviličku. Introduction to Architecture. My jsme připravili tady sadu v zásadě 8 open session, kterou jsme zabalili do školení Top Gun Unicorn Application Framework Stakeholder. A pak ještě myslím, že budeme mít 2 části, základní a pokročilou. A připravili jsme takovýhle školení pro vlastně všechny, kteří dneska nějakým způsobem pracují na produktech, které vyrábíme, kteří pracují na tom, že nabízíme a dodáváme naše produkty a řešení klientům, pro všechny, kteří jsou zapojení do toho, aby vyvíjeli ty naše produkty a řešení. Jinými slovy pro lidi z Product Hubu, pro spolupracovníky z Unicorn Systems, ze Software Factory. Protože dneska už v zásadě asi není pochyba o tom, že tady the architecture jako je ten správný směr a všechny věci okolo. Kdyby někdo ty pochyby ještě měl, tak se přijďte o nich popovídat. Já to považuji tohle téma už jako dávno za vyřízení. Protože těch produktů a projektů, které jsme v tom už udělali, na kterých pracujeme, už je tolik, že je prokazatelný, že je to správná cesta. To je jako dobrá zpráva. Ta realita nám na druhou stranu taky ukazuje to, že se ještě máme co učit. Že se máme co učit jako o tom, s čím pracujeme, že se máme co učit, jako jak s těma věcmi pracovat, že se máme co učit, jak vlastně funguje ta dělba práce, kterou máme pro to, aby nám to šlo a odsejpalo tak, jak chceme. A tady těch 8 open session, který máme připravený, nejsou úplně o tom, abychom vás učili programovat, jak se bude používat WP charty, nebo prostě jak se programuje aplikační server, nebo jak máte dělat deployment do Google Cloudu. Ale je o tom, abychom si tyhle věci prošli celý, abychom si to vzali víc do kontextu. Protože z těch projektů je vidět krásně jedna věc, že když tomu rozumíme a známe a víme, jak ty věci fungují, tak jsou mnohem snazší, než když to, jak to funguje, jako nevíme. Jo. To krásně tady, když jako Tomáš dělal tady shrnutí toho, jak jako to je zkušenost jako s frameworkem, jak to používáme, tak tam nějakou krásnou větu, že jako spokojenost toho, to, jak jako ten projekt probíhá, je přímo závislá jako na tom, jako, jak moc správně ten framework používáme. Jo. Protože když ho používáme jako jinak, než je to určený, tak s tím máme teda zatracený trouble.
A nebo kolik přijmeme kompromisů jako kvůli tomu, že klient někde něco chce prostě jinak. A jako ono se to pak projeví jako kvadraticky, nikoliv lineárně, jako v té spokojenosti, ale i jako v efektivitě toho vývoje.
Protože když to nevím na příkladu, všichni znáte stavebnice Lego, že jo? Někdo nezná Lego, znáte všichni Lego.
Já jsem vždycky chtěl, nikdy jsem nedostal.
Fakt vádě, jo. Takhle, teď už máš...
Ale to napravím, protože...
Ty už máš potomka, tak si můžeš dát, ty už máš komu kupovat jako Lego doma, tak si to užij, jo, protože to je teďka jako tak na 15 let jako bude tvoje velká zábava. Protože to je taková neverending story s tím Legem.
Ale hlavně, když ten kurz, který k tomu ten kurz dáš na 90% a víc, tak ti to Lego koupím osobně.
Ale já si to nahrál.
Ale to zase ne, Váďa se zeptal, rozumíte, a Hulíná huba holí neštěstí, takže on získal special prize, my ostatní to můžete dělat 90% bez Lega.
A jsme zpátky k tomu Legu, všichni znáte Lego a víte, jak to používat, protože on má takové čudlinky, že jo, na to se to dává, prostě máte různý kostičky, to z toho skládáte dohromady, ale prostě nikoho z vás jako nenapadne jako si vzít jako k tomu Merkura, vrtat si jako do kostičky Jirku, tam přidělat jako ten kovový drát, nebo tu kovovou tyčku, že jo, nebo prostě si vzít jako nějakou jinou stavebnici, teďka tam prostě to nějak tomu přitloust, nebo prostě jako přilepit, protože prostě jako vám to přijde jako plná blbost, že jo, protože přece k tomu to Lego určení není jako. A ono dost podobně je tady s těma věcma, jo, protože jako když pak začnete ty věci někam přilepovat a nebo tam prostě dávat věci, které tam nepatří, tak jako je to divný, že? Když prostě chcete postavit jako v tomhle město, tak si vezmete tu velkou zelenou základní desku a na ní jdete stavět, že? Tak to je jasný. Jo. Nikoho z vás nenapadne, že byste si tady do té dřevěné desky zatloukli hřebíky, jo, a začali ty kostičky sázet do těch hřebíků. Ono by to nejspíš šlo, jo, ale kolik času strávíte tím, než tam ty hřebíky správně natlučete, jo, a než to všechno vyměříte a prostě jako je fakt jednodušší, že mám koupit tu zelenou desku a tam prostě jako vysázet, a když potřebuji druhou, no, tak jsem druhou zelenou desku a tam dosázet. Jo. Když to jako, když ty systémy občas děláme, tak jako se fakt chováme, tak jako vem tu dřevěnou desku, která jako vlastně nic nemá, to, co nás zkoušíme. Hřebíky, některý přijde, ale hřebíky mi došly, tak tam našoubujeme šroubky, že jo, a pak si divíme, že ty kostičky jako v tom jako nefungují. Tak to jsou ty věci, které si chceme říct, že jako je lepší nedělat, že prostě fakt jako lepší postupovat jako tak, jak je tam a zástavit ty postupy nastavení.
Je to o totální změně mindsetu, který v té firmě máme, protože my jsme v zásadě doteď zvyklí ne řešit problém klienta, ale řešit problém klienta způsobem, kterým si klient řekne, že se má vyřešit. Jo. A snažíme se prostě, když dám poptávku a dát tam prostě do toho jako nějakých 50 000 prostě jako požadavků, tak se pokoušíme prostě každý jednotlivý řádek v tom Excelu splnit, prostě, ať to dává nebo nedává smysl. Jo. Úloha unicornu prostě ve strategii 2020 je, jak vyřešit problém klienta co nejefektivnější kombinací našich produktů, který už máme hotový. Prostě, a jak ho přesvědčit o tom, že tohle je mnohem lepší než jako jakýkoliv řešení, který on si jako myslí, že jako by tím ten projekt nebo ten svůj problém mohl vyřešit. Tohle je naše práce a tohle je cílem toho kurzu asi největším, o čem vás tady přesvědčit, že takhle se to musí dělat. Tady brní v kapse Vladimír, tak on asi nemůže najít stream nebo tak něco.
Aha, to vyřešit.
Já vám... do angličtiny. Protože máme asi 15 lidí na Ukrajině, které nás sledují.
So let's switch into English. No problem. Some practical information about the organization of this Afghan Academy. As you have heard, that will be done by 8 sessions. There will be one basic principle which we will apply for this academy, and it's that for the people which don't join this open session, you will have next 4, 5, 6 weeks up to the next session to see the session online and to complete the chapter in UE course kit. So after the session, chapter based on the content will be created, and all of you have to complete this lesson, this part, chapter of this Unicorn course kit, Unicorn course kit, and to complete it by the next session. That's why time frame for those people which are on vacations or which are ill or cannot join the open session online, and to just to move ahead, because we are sure that if you will not follow, you will not accept and understand all the topics, that it's difficult to understand the next sessions and so on. So please remember that, and we will do monitoring of that, because we have a tools already in US course kit, and we will check that everyone is meeting these checkpoints. I said that this program will be divided into parts, to basic and advanced. The basic is dedicated to be graduated by all of you, and then there will be a group of people which will be selected or chosen, and they will continue to pass this advanced part, which will be about a practical example. That means we will identify together some real situations, some real problems, and you will prepare, you will design the solution and how to resolve this problem by this architecture with the products which we will introduce to you, and so on. So that will be the second part.
And of course, if you are already working on some product or project in executive team or product team, you can pass this part of the course by just presenting your work. So if you are working on pink books for or business model kits or something like it for products or for some projects in Unicorn Systems, it's applicable. So for some of you, it will be very easy to pass the exam.
Okay, the first open session is today, and we want to go with you through some refresh to once more goes through the definition of mobile first IoT cloud architecture, to tell you a little bit more why we decided to make investment into the architecture, what's behind, what we see as added value for Unicorn, why we see this approach as the added value for our clients, and to discuss some partial points why and how we have to change our approach, which was already mentioned by David, because it's really change not only from technology point of view, from process point of view, but we have to change our approach in the sales process and in design process to adopt and to apply all products. So David, probably can start with introduction of mobile first IoT cloud architecture and the motivation which is behind this key aspect of our projects.
First, let's set up the goal again. So you all already know this picture, you've seen it many times, but again we have to explain that Unicorn future is in products. So we want to achieve 1 billion euros of turnover. We want to achieve it in about 6 years, and so there are some things which are quite clear. We can't achieve this by just current customers on current markets. The only way how to get billion euros in software development is to have millions of users around the world. So, and this can't be achieved by providing professional services. From this region, the only way how to achieve this is by selling products. So that's simple task what we have to do, and why we have to switch the whole company to product company from company providing professional services for enterprise segment. The second thing is that we want to achieve this goal, and the worldwide IT market is that more of the half of the IT spending in the whole world is in consumer segment, and currently most of our revenue comes just from the enterprise segment. We have to have products for consumer segment as well. Consumer segment, I mean consumer segment, small office, home office, small companies. Because now we are not targeting this correctly, and that's actually reduces our potential for achieving this goal to half. And again, there's no way how to achieve in software development the revenue from the consumer segment but just by products, and those products has to be on click, because imagine that you would take your mobile and you will ask somebody that he will talk with you about your problems, then he will write down some specifications, then he will develop some application, he will install it to your phone, you will test it, maybe 2-3 months you will give him some bugs and he will fix it, and finally you will get your personal applications here on your mobile. You will pay 50,000 euros or something like it. Perfect business never happens. So the only way how to get it is just click and I can use it. So our products for consumer segment has to be in this way, but not just for consumer segment, for most segments, because more and more businesses are turning to products, and more even enterprise businesses are using on-click products. If you are working for our clients, you can see that they are using Slack, they are using Microsoft Teams, they are using many products which actually they didn't buy on the market, and nobody came to the company to implement it. They just registered, they paid for it, and they start using it in their team. So even in enterprise segment, there's a huge potential for on-click products. So we have to focus on both. So we have to have enterprise products and on-click products, and we have two sales channels. Plus for you and Plus for Internet Service is the main channel for on-click products, and Unicorn Systems is the channel for enterprise products. If you are selling complete product, there's almost no room for providing some additional services like that you will get some man hours paid. On the other hand, enterprise product is something which is usually implemented and customized, etc. So there's usually like 30% license income and 70% from professional services, and that's what we want to achieve in Unicorn Systems. And all those products are built on our architecture. So today we will not talk about the other products. We will mostly speak about our architecture and why it's set in the way it is. So let's switch to the architecture. And some basics again. This picture is almost 5 years old. It was defined in 2015 and it's still true. So the main segments in the technology on the market, on all segments, is mobile first, IoT and cloud. Yeah, it's still true, and of course there are some augmented reality and virtual reality and everything, but it's niche technology. It's not the mainstream on any of the IT markets. So still it's mobile first, it's it's cloud and it's IoT. Actually, the whole segment and the whole market expected that the IoT business will grow much faster than it does. There was a prognosis from Gartner's that in 2020, so it means in 14 days, there will be 50 billion IoT boxes connected to the internet. Nobody says what the reality is, but I'm sure it's not 50 billion at the moment. So the speed how the IoT boxes are coming to the market is much slower than it was expected 5 years ago, but still it's one of the fastest growing businesses at the moment. So if our architecture is prepared for those trends, it's the best architecture we can have now, because we are focusing on what's hot and what everybody wants. Yeah. And the truth is that in enterprise markets still some of the customers are not aware that they need mobile first architecture. Even I see from some projects and I hear that we are not focusing on mobile first because customer doesn't want it at the moment, but it doesn't matter that the customer doesn't want it. Every application, every product, every system which comes from the Unicorn workshop is mobile first. Doesn't matter if customer wants or not. Yeah? It's our quality and our standard, and we don't care, positively don't care, that the customer is still not aware that he will need to run it on their mobile. We will give him mobile first, and in the end he will be lucky and he will like it. So that's the first example of that we are not just fulfilling customers' requirements, but we have a strong opinion on how the system and how products should work, and we keep it. We keep it everywhere. No discussions. Okay. So our architecture has like 5 major layers. We are focusing on the technology, how to develop user interfaces on any device, from mobile to smart TV and everything. And we chose technology which is available on most of the boxes our users are using at the moment, so we can do all user interfaces with just one code. We focus on technology which allows us to develop business logic and application programming interfaces fastly and in a standard way anywhere, and which are ready to run in the cloud. That's very important. Another change of mindset. Still in many projects, when we are developing for the cloud, we develop on-premise, and then we are thinking about how to deploy to the cloud. That's completely wrong, and we will not allow it. We are not allowing it now, because the only right way how to do it is to develop in cloud, and if it's absolutely necessary, and we can't at the moment persuade the customer that it will stay in the cloud, we can think about how the cloud application could be deployed on premise. That's the only right way in Unicorn how to develop applications. Yeah? So develop for the cloud, deploy on premise if absolutely necessary. But because it's still temporary, because in 2 years it will change, and then we will be ready for the cloud. Because in the end, most of the IT systems will run in the cloud, I'm sure. Yeah, there's no discussion. That's the real trend, because we don't have computers which are using, I don't know, gas as a power. All of them are using electricity. And with information systems, it's the same. All of them will be using cloud as the substrate, as the main power. So let's be ready for it now, not in the future when customer finally finds out that it's the trend after everybody knows it. Yeah? So that's another change, and that's another important thing, that we are developing in the cloud, for the cloud, and on-premise solution is always the second option, only if necessary. Yeah. Of course, we have to be able to develop for all those IoT boxes. Unfortunately, we are not able to develop any framework to develop those use cases directly for the boxes, because the technology on the market is very highly segmented. There are like 600 standards, and when I say there are 600 standards, it means there's no standard. Yeah, because almost everything that exists is called a standard, but there's non-standard, so it's a big adventure. And for each box, you have to have some discovery stage where you are trying to find out how to develop automation directly for the box. And last but not least, there's business territory and my territory. In past years, we didn't focus on them too much because we were developing them, but they are nearly production ready, and we will go through it on some next session. And again, business territory and my territory is an essential part of any Unicorn product. Next generation of Lancelot will be based on business territory. Next generation of Damas will be based on business territory. Next generation of any product we develop will use business territory. That's again a fact, because otherwise we are still developing different way how to manage access rights, different way how to cope with organization structure, and this is not just the business territory. There's a set of common products which are aligned with business territory, which are doing contact management and environment management, etc. And again, most of our products will use those components and will be composed from those components, because I think from the history that some kind of contact management for either systems or products we developed like 300, maybe 400 times, again, complete waste of money. Not just our money and our time, but money of our clients. So this is another essential part of the architecture and the framework, because it will be in a product and any project where it could be. From the structural point, it's another view of the architecture layers. So we have human interface, we have key interface, we have API. So anything we develop in the architecture has API, application programming interface, and all the interfaces, all the other systems, internal or external, are using exactly the same interface for accessing business logic. So I sometimes get a question, for example, if CourseKit has some programming interface. Again, I don't understand it. Of course it has. It can't be developed without it. And is it possible to do everything you can do from the user interface through some API? You can see that it is possible. Actually, the only way is that the API is a superset of features that are in a human interface, because the only way how a human interface of some application can access business logic is through API. So, of course it is, and usually more. because there's no other way how to interact with the application. There's no possibility that you go directly to the database and you code with some tables and etc. The only way how one application or one application can interact with the other application is through API, and that's a good thing. And it leads to microservice architecture. You have many small services, many small applications connected together. It leads to the architecture where you don't need a large database with strong reference, which is with strong integrity, which is maintained inside it. It's I would say an old school architecture. Nobody does this anymore on the internet, because there was a time in the IT development when this feature was interesting, but on the other hand, nobody solved the main problem, and it's scalability. And if you are doing application for the internet, and one day you have 10 users, and the second day you have 1 million users, any large database with strong referential integrity doesn't scale well. So you have small data stores which are just behind one microservice. The integrity is solved on application level, and you focus on how to scale these data stores and those application instances automatically to achieve scalability for millions of users. Okay. So this is our architecture, and we will go through the paths in next session sometimes. But I have some more pictures here which are maybe interesting. I spoke about the human interface. So what's the architecture and the technology? Yeah. We said we are mobile first, and on the other hand, you know that we are developing applications in HTML and JavaScript. And it seems that it doesn't fit too well, but it's not true it doesn't fit. Actually, it's the best option that's available on the market, because the biggest problem of many products which are on the market now is that they have to develop their user interface at least 3 times. Once they develop it in HTML and JavaScript for web applications accessible from desktops and laptops. Second, they develop it in Swift or something like for iOS, and the third one they develop in Java or Kotlin for Android. And then they deploy the application, and there are 3 deployment channels for each human interface. On web, you deploy directly because you usually deploy on some of your servers. But if you want to deploy a new version of your user interface to iOS, you have to deploy through Apple App Store. And there's some certification process and some regulations, so you never know how quickly you can pass this and what time your new version will be available. And if you deploy on Android, it's the same, but with Google. Okay. So we decided that we will have just one technology, and that we will deploy on all platforms at the same time. So we use something which is called progressive web applications, and this is technology which enables us to develop applications in JavaScript and HTML, which have nearly the same, or for most cases almost exactly the same look and feel and responsibility, etc., as if you would develop natively. And what we prepared this year, we even prepared some native loader, so you can wrap such web page into a native application, which you can upload to Apple App Store, or you can upload it to Google Play, or how it is called. And the only reason for this is there's no technical reason. You don't add any functionality to the application by this, or maybe on Apple, because they still doesn't support all progressive application standards. But what you will achieve, it's a marketing channel and sales channel, because most people are used to get their applications on their phones not by browsing websites and storing bookmarks, but going to App Store and entering search. So the only way why we are deploying through App Stores is to get to mine this marketing and sales channel. It's not because of the technology. But still, you install this application only once because it doesn't have any code inside. It has just URL and icon. And if you deploy a new version of the application in your servers, all your native applications will have the same code as the browsers at the moment because they are still downloading anytime they are starting. Sometimes we get questions, what about offline? Those applications don't run offline. Well, the answer is, who cares? Really, it's not important. Sorry, the future is connected. Not the future, the present is connected. And applications which are not connected to the internet are not useful anymore. So, or will not be useful next year. So, it's not important to focus on them. In some segments, we just need to wait another year, and then it will be okay. And the problem that something is not online, it's not a problem. It would be just some question how to develop applications which run without electricity. So if the electricity goes down on the meeting, what we will do? We will leave the building and we will go home, or we will sit quietly, maybe not quietly, and we will wait till the electricity comes up. So that's the same with our applications. If the connections goes down, simply our users have to wait because when it's up again, because it will be, and it will be very quickly. Everybody, all businesses, at least in Europe, are counting on that from that plug in the wall comes electricity. They don't think about how is it possible and is it safe and will it be always there. Nobody, almost nobody. So any business just counts with electricity coming from the wall, and with the internet is the same. So we just know that connectivity is there and we can use it, and we don't need to care about if it will be or not will be, because it's not important. Our civilization passed this point, actually. Okay, so for the architecture, this is the important part, but now for some terms, because we have some terms like unicorn framework and unicorn application framework and etc. So how is it exactly? Some of you who heard the speech somewhere before know that this picture changed a bit, because we thought always that there's unicorn application framework, which is something like a mindset. There's a set of ideas and good practices about how to develop software, and then inside unicorn application framework there are different production lines for different technologies which share the same principles but have different implementations of this. Actually, we decided to skip this, because we know that we don't need different technologies. We need just this one. And all our products will be in this technology, or it won't be products. So we simplified the message, and we say that the important term is unicorn application is UA framework. That's the only framework unicorn uses, and will be in the near future. This framework implements unicorn mobile first IoT ready cloud architecture, and that's it. Unicorn application framework is just synonym for UA framework. It's the same. And so it simplifies those things a bit. And of course, UA framework is difficult to say. So you can simply say unicorn framework, unicorn application framework is synonym, or just the framework. And the same with the architecture. You can shortcut the unicorn mobile first IoT ready cloud architecture for unicorn architecture, or just the architecture. Of course, it looks quite proud, and it is, because we are proud of what we have, and we are sure it's one of the best architectures and one of the best frameworks on the market. So you can just when you say architecture in unicorn, it means this architecture. When you say framework in unicorn, it means this framework. And that's simple. So you can use just those simple words for naming what we have. I think I even described it in the book. These are synonyms. We have many presentations about what's important in the architecture, etc. But I think it's maybe today it will be more important, and you have links for this, so you can go through all the advantages of the layers and through the libraries that we have, etc. But what's important today is to discuss the change of mindset on how to think about products. So I will not go through it, but the last part of this section would be, unfortunately it's in Czech, so that next time in English.
It wasn't for this purpose.
For any purpose,
Doesn't matter,
you know.
just English.
English is a working language for everything, anywhere. Because we are an international company and we want to be much more international company. So forget about writing down something in Czech. It's past. Everything should be written in English. But Tomáš went through Unicorn Systems, through all projects which are using Unicorn application framework at the moment. Either they are in the process or they already succeeded. By the way, do you know what revenue we get from projects which are based on UAP framework in Unicorn Systems this year? Think. How much could be? Honza knows, of course, because we counted together. Almost 10 million euros. So it's more than one stream. And we are in the beginning. Next year it will be doubled, we are sure. So there's almost 1 million euros in 10 million euros, pardon, in income which are coming in Unicorn Systems, just in Unicorn Systems, from UAPs and from this architecture. The year before it was like one or two. Yeah, one or two. So it's growing fast. Okay, and what was the feedback from the projects? Well, all the things which were mostly mentioned were that it's good to have some standard, and why it is important to have some standard. It's not about the architecture, but architecture needs to have good process how to develop. And the process has to be suitable for organization structure and for the split of work you can achieve on the market and in the company. And the truth is that nobody is actually able to develop anything here in Prague. No? Because there are no developers anymore. And the market is so twisted that it doesn't make sense to have development teams and to grow development teams here in Prague. And it's not just Prague, it's just something which came from other towns, because we heard this message 10 years before in London, we heard it in Stockholm, in many towns and many cities around the world, that in large cities it's very difficult to get some teams. It's still possible in Kiev, but even in Ukraine we are moving to some smaller cities, well, smaller. Smaller city in Ukraine meets 1 million people, like 5 universities. Still they have much more than we have. Yeah. So the truth is that the only way how we can develop is to have distributed teams around the world on smaller places, either in Czech, in Slovak Republic, in Ukraine, in many other cities. But definitely we are not able to set up like 50, 60 people on one place in one building that they meet every day and they can see each other every day. So we need architecture and we need development process which is suitable for virtual teams which are split around the world. So we need strong standards how to pass the work, for example, to Ternopil. We need strong standard how to find out that the work is good quality and that the result, the output, does what it should do, and how to get it back. And this has to be highly efficient. So it's not possible that we have 30 different ways how to develop software if we want to develop in 23 cities. It's absolutely inefficient. So the only way how to be efficient, have the same standard for everything. The same is with technology, because otherwise all the training, all the transfer of know-how and knowledge, it's so expensive that it makes it almost impossible. So, and then you are coming back and you are saying that it's not possible to develop in Česká Třebová. Well, definitely we have to switch it. We have to do it in Prague or somewhere, at least in Hradec, because they are doing for 15 years. They are quite skilled now, but there are no more developers here. So how you want to switch it and how you want to bring it back if there's no workforce which can do it? So we have to see this as an opportunity. We have to have process and architecture that is ready to work this way, that allows us to offer people benefits like that they can work from their hometowns, from their home villages, and still to be efficient and still to work on large projects and large products, either for customer market or either for enterprise. So standard, definitely, because I think all projects you went in were not developed in Prague, but well distributed around, at least around Czech Republic. So standard, first benefit. Second, our framework is developer oriented. We strongly focus not just on to have a clean architecture which suits well to all the needs we need, but to architecture which can be easily developed and easily applied to projects. So we have strong tooling, and DevKit, that's the name of the product, which is focused just for developers. It's not an application for end user market. By the way, all the architecture and all the framework is not for end user market. It's just for us. We don't want to sell architecture. We don't want to sell technical components. We want to sell our products which are made from these components. That's the focus of the architecture and the framework. Or we want to deploy solutions to our enterprise customers using this approach and this process to get the same effectivity as we develop products. But again, then it's embedded product inside. We don't want to buy explicitly licenses of unicorn application framework or something like it. It's a part of the package. We develop solutions for them, and all those products are embedded inside. And so DevKit is a tool for developers, and we have strong tooling. So it means that if you have a clean notebook and you want to start develop in this architecture, it takes 15 minutes to set up the whole environment, and after 15 minutes you are able not just to develop, you are able to deploy your work to the cloud immediately in 15 minutes in any project which is using this architecture. And that's very important, and that's another part of what about JJ said about Lego and about the platform. So for example, if you if customer wants that final application will run on premise and some special technology different from EU cloud, it means that you are cutting out all this automation and all what's prepared, and you have to solve in the project. And that's hundreds of hours. That means that you have to train people. You have additional knowledge you have to pass between teams if you want to pass your development, and it's completely wrong. So again, if we are developing our products and our applications in this architecture, we will always develop in EU cloud. Doesn't matter if the final solution will run on premise or it will stay in the cloud. Always, any project from the first day will develop in EU cloud, will test in EU cloud, will discuss with customer through EU cloud, and if there is a need to deploy on premise, we have to do a separate sprint, parallelly, and do some additional testing about the deployment. But for example, we don't want Software Factory to have this skill. We want Software Factory and all Software Factory teams to be focused just for developing and deploying to EU cloud. And if you need something more, it has to be solved elsewhere. Because otherwise, we are again bringing complexity and ineffectivity to something which should be highly effective. And now we have some projects that we will discuss maybe later, because we can compare projects which were developed in uCloud, like Libra, with projects which in the beginning, because the final deployment will be on premise, decided that they will deploy on premise during the development process, and they spent thousands of hours just for solving problems coming from the decision and not delivering something useful. Yeah. So again, strong opinion and strong decision that we will develop always in uCloud, because this is efficient. Yeah. That's the next thing actually. It's quick and efficient. Yeah. And another which was highly appreciated, I think Radek is somewhere here, so this is feedback on your work and on your team. We have dedicated people which are here for you. They are not developing the framework and the architecture. They are not developing your projects. They are here to transfer knowledge, to help you solve problems, to transfer your problems to development labs, to specify them and explain their complexity and their importance to the developers of the technology. So this dedicated team of evangelists, it's strongly appreciated. Very good. And we never had that before, because always we had, if somebody was able to develop, he was sold to the final customer. And now we can even afford, and we can afford it because we have one technology. If you would have 30 technologies, and each of the technology should have some dedicated team of, you are 8 people at the moment, I think 8 people, to just for evangelization and training, nobody will pay for it. So that's another key point of standardization. It's not that the progress on the technology is swift, and there are many new features. We are following standards. So basically, if you go through the slides, you see that from the projects which are already using framework, the feedback is very positive. I was surprised. I expected positive feedback, not so positive as Tomáš came with. And there's positive feedback on the development process as well. Even on the tools, of course, with the if, because when we are developing development tools and we are using dog feeding for testing them, so it means that when they achieve some maybe less than minimum usability, we push them to some development team to use it to get feedback as soon as possible. Of course, it means that the tool at the moment is not ready, and it brings another complexity to the project. But on the other hand, for example, when there was a chief of development of Skype talking on Unicorn College Open, I had some 15 minutes with them after that, and I had some Skype calls, so I opened my laptop and was like, I said, okay, show me that. Actually, I've never seen a stable version of Skype, because I'm always using alpha version. Yeah. Actually, I wanted to tell him that I didn't as well, but I stayed polite. Yeah. So it means that there are versions of Skype which are much more unstable than what we are using here. But the example is different. It means that the chief of development of Skype is using highly unstable, highly unready version to test it on himself, and all of the team, and then there's another group of people. He said that it's like 2,000 people in Microsoft which are getting early betas and which are using early betas of Skype for their day-to-day work, and that they are collecting feedback from this. So dog feeding is common practice, how to speed up product development and how to make it stable as soon as possible. And we will use it in the future more. So you can expect we will bringing more and more tools for product development, and the initial versions will be hard to use, but it will quickly improve, and it will improve more quickly if you will give us some good feedback. not just feedback that it's shit, because usually developers of the tool know that at this current state it's shit, but they need something, some feature requests and bug reports to make it less and less shit, and finally, in the evening it's shit, and in the morning it's excellent. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. But I thank you for this, Tomáš, because the feedback was very, very positive. And why I'm showing here is that if there are still somebody who is doubting that this is the good way, actually we don't want to persuade him. Maybe the only service I can offer him: come to the project, go to the project which already did, and speak with them. I'm too tired to explain this again and again. Because the results are talking. The results are here. The results are in 10 million euros enterprise projects. The results in the product hub and 150 projects there. The results are in UU Cloud, which is growing like 20% per quarter. So the usage of UU Cloud is growing. Maybe one of the fastest services we have in the growth. We have 100,000 people in Plus4U, which are using mostly the old shitty applications, not those nice in this architecture. Okay. So that's definitely the right way how to do this. And the only future and the only way to grow is to implement products. So technology is a start, but on top of technology we need products, both for enterprise and for on-click. And we need to have process how to sell those products and how to implement them to solve customers' problems and to solve them well. We don't want to sell shit. We want to sell something useful, something which people like, something which will talk to the other people and which will do guerrilla marketing about it. So that's the goal. Okay? So this is not something against customer. It's something for him, because we can deliver faster, we can deliver cheaper, we can deliver not just technology, but the business know-how as well, because that's for many people, especially enterprise segment, buying a product means buying business know-how. So we want to implement this business know-how in the products and sell this business know-how along with the product, because it's the best way actually how to sell business know-how. Of course, you can sell, chit-chatting, and it's called konzultace, but clever guys are doing clever talks about anything. But the added value of this way of selling business know-how is very limited. And that's why there are companies like SAP and others, not because they have the best technology, but because they have combination of technology and business know-how sold together as a product. Okay, let's go back to our agenda.
Let's continue with this presentation. We have.
I have one question.
Of course.
What is our main strategy for next year on the international market? When I would understand, Unicode wants to make new box products, for example, charger.
Okay, that's what I wanted to touch. We have seen the overview of the architecture. We have seen the reasons why we created. We started in 2016 to prepare it, and now we have it ready. We use it. Next year, from this point of view, will be like not 10 million euro only. It will be like 20-25 million euro revenue in Unicode systems only on this framework, or this using this technology for the products based on this technology. But still, we do a lot of projects for our clients on, let's say, old-fashioned technology like TSS3 konvenční banka and Gate in banka and so on. Please consider we will continue with these projects. No one says we will stop all these projects. But what we want to say and what we want you understand is that this is our priority. This is our preferred way how we want to develop our products and our solutions, such as charge up like Lancelot ETRM. The same way we want to implement new functionalities for Damas, the same way we want to develop all new our products, which we want to prepare for our clients. David said that the enterprise clients are looking for business experience. By the way, with on-click products, everyone is buying some business experience. Because if you buy WebKit, if you buy DotSkit, if you buy any other such product, you buy some business experience. We expect from the product some functionality, and that's about the business discipline. It's about the functionality. So it's same in the consumer segment, it's same in enterprise. Clients want to buy added value business. They want to buy business functionality. No one is looking for the technology. Because this is discussion how to apply the technology. And our clients expect from us, they deliver solution, deliver business functionality, not the technology. We are not Microsoft, we are not Oracle. From technology point of view, in Europe they deliver mainly technology. And what Microsoft and Oracle is looking for, they are looking for the partners which create solutions using their technology. That's why we got from Microsoft award this year. Not because of we are selling cloud. The main reason is we sell solutions which are using cloud. Prefer technology over Microsoft. That's the reason why we got this award.
Actually, the third award we got from Microsoft because we got one for Plus4U medical, and the second one I don't remember. Maybe it's gone because he remembers. But the fun is that we always get an award from Microsoft for technology which is based on Linux, which is running in Java and JavaScript. If we are not using anything else from Microsoft than Microsoft Azure. Yeah. And they are still okay with this because Azure is what matters for Microsoft.
By the way, 2 comments, I have to remember 2 ones. The first one is, you know that we do project TSS3 in Komerční banka. But TSS3 is not a technology, it started as a product. So we worked for 20 years in Komerční banka on product. Now, today, it's maybe more about the technology, but it started as a product. It's the same with CTS in Komerční banka. It was a Aeon solution, it was a product. We started this solution as a product. Same as Gate in Tatra Banka. The same is what we do in geoinformatics. It's about the product. Implement some business functionality on top of product. Jarda Vráček, Microsoft Navision, Zoom in Komerční banka, Microsoft Dynamics. All these projects are done on top of product. Big projects, successful projects started with the product, not with the technology. And it's a big, big difference and big change which we have to understand that we are quite successful with Damas and Lancelot and Inca and so on. Again, it's about the products. Or at least we play the game, it's a product. Even in some cases it's a little bit more about technology, but still we said we have a product. And that's the basic aspect of our success out of the Czech and Slovak Republic. With all the projects which we do from Ireland to Ukraine, from Norway to Italy, all these projects are based on the product. That's why all these products are so important for us.
And we will continue these products. We just want to re-implement them using this technology, because then we can do them more efficiently. We can give them, features that they don't have at the moment. Actually, yesterday we had a code revision meeting, regular code revision meeting for Lancelot ETRM. And when we went through the user interface and we've seen the look and feel and the experience, how it works, we all agreed, both the guys which were developing the original Lancelot and the others which are working on the project now, that the current state of the user interface is superior to what we have in the TIC client, which was developed in C++. So better features, better looking, better user experience achieved by this technology.
And by the way, to sell a product is completely different than to sell custom development. 20 years ago, we sold one product, custom development. We came to the client, we asked them, okay, what trouble do you have? Okay, we are missing signatures here in bank. Okay, so can you tell us exactly what do you mean by signatures? We did 2, 5, 4 workshops, then we have created proposal. Okay, signatures in Česká spořitelna is about blah, 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 blah. We prepared proposal and we said, okay, based on this workshop, we could start with the engineering project. So we will sit together and we will define in details how signatures in the bank should work. And we ask the client, please client, accept this specification, tell us that it's exactly what you want. Then we say, okay, we have completed specification, we have technical engineering project, so let's go to construction. Okay, doing the engineering projects, we defined architecture, we created some prototypes and so on to be sure that in construction we are able to complete it. And now compare this approach with a product like Damas. It doesn't work like we go to National Grid in UK. Guys, can you tell us what should be provided by Damas in terms of functionality? What would you expect it? So, what we should implement? No. We go to these clients and we say, okay, we have a Damas. Damas works this way. It provides this functionality. And the only discussion in this point is how we are successful to keep our position, how to keep our functionality, how to keep our architecture, and how big changes and integrations we have to do. So it's not like, what do you want to have? It's like, we have a product, and we have to moderate the needs of the client and to be able to explain how it works. And it's very, very significant change in the thinking of the salespeople. Because you are not asking what they want, you have to explain to the client what they want. And that means that we have to know our products. It's a precondition to be successful.
Because we
do that. We do that with Damas, we do that with enterprise solutions, we do that with Inca. With Inca. It's one of the examples where we play the game about the product. And we have already implemented 6 underwater cables, 5, okay, roughly. Plus minus. And this is a significant change which is in front of us. Of course, we will continue to work with for the clients, which will ask us, please implement something in our framework, in our technology, because we are missing resources. It will work. But by the way, it's the opportunity for us to develop something. We can take over existing solutions, we can take over old solutions, and to come with the idea how to rewrite this old-fashioned technology solutions into our architecture.
How to introduce, even when we have product ready, we can just take over some system and then show them our product and explain them how it will solve their problem better. Yeah, so it's a good sales strategy, but still we are targeting this goal to do it almost the same everywhere.
And we are discussing the products from business point of view, like ChargeUp, Inca, Damas, and so on. Let's switch a little bit into your regular life, to developers' life. Wouldn't be a good idea to use technological components the same way? That's mean to understand which components do we have in our library, instead of how I can implement this functionality. That's another significant change, not in sales process, but in the, let's say, design process. To know and to understand which products do we have, which products we can apply. And of course, to accept that this is the product or the component with a given functionality. Maybe I could have something a little bit different, but I can take this green Lego table and I can have it now. Or I can spend next 2 months, 1,000 hours, and create something very, very, very similar.
Yeah, but in hours you don't do this with documentation, course training of
we will prepare training.
Or your colleagues.
Who will take care for the right licensing of some components which we will decide to use? Who will take care for this new component which will not be product, will be developed but just for the project? So this is the change about the designers, about the people which are solution designers. They need to understand which components do we have. We have to understand which components are available to prepare designs and the specifications for software factory. Software factory needs to know which components do we have because they have to apply it, not to develop again and again new library for charts because we have one. And okay, if we are missing something in the library, let's give a feedback to product manager and let's extend the functionality. And these are very, very significant changes in the approach which we apply last 20 years in Unicorn systems. In Product Hub and so on, which are relatively new, young units, and they start with this approach to apply products and completely, it's not so big change, but in Unicorn systems with all these teams, it's something which is very different. It's complex change in sales, it's complex change in executive teams to understand and to work this way, because that's the way how to save hours, how to decrease risks. That's why the products, not only the business functionality, but also these technology components are very, very important for us, and we have to be efficient and we have to know how to share the information, which components, which libraries, which products do we have, what are new versions, where to find documentation, how to be trained. That's why we have so big effort to create all these documentations, all these course kits and so on, because to share all this information in the 2,000 people across 23 development centers, this is the only way how to work with that. And of course it will require to change the approach of every one of us. It's not like, okay, we go for the training one time per quarter for 2 days, with Mirek, for example, to Řebečníky, but we have to train by ourselves with the training materials, with the documentation. So this is another change which is coming with the digitalization, with online life, with online world, and with something which is faster and faster and faster. Because 20 years ago we had one version of framework for Power Builder per year. Okay, we had enough time to train our campaign. Now we have a new version of components every day. So there is no time to be trained every day.
Every week.
Okay, every week.
But every week is still fast enough. Every Tuesday is the release day, and there's at least 10 components which have new version every week. So
Miloš seems to be surprised.
So
It's my standard face.
no, this is an excited face.
Excited face.
And it's about change of mindset, because when you are designing something and you need some component which looks quite common and useful, and you don't know in the framework, you probably should assume that it's already there, you just don't know it. So before you start looking for something else or designing something which you think it should be part of the architecture, look into documentation, ask evangelists, because we are working on this for 4 years, and I'm sure that for most of cases we are doing, it's there. There are just in front end there are 500 components. So the probability that the component you need is already developed and is already part of the framework is very, very high. So always first look if your problem is not solved by the architecture. If it's not, ask evangelists and discuss with them. They will help you, and if they will not find a solution, together we will come out with a suggestion for a new library, new component, improvement for some component which is already existing but needs some new features, and still it will be more efficient and faster than when you start googling some third-party components and third-party solutions, or designing and developing your own. But on the other hand, we can't be afraid about developing code. So still there are new components which are created in the projects, and we are harvesting those components back to the architecture, back to the framework for other projects to reuse them. And again, this is totally different from what we did in the past, because we tried to use different parts of codes or even different applications, but those parts of code never had dedicated budget. They had never dedicated product manager, dedicated support team, dedicated evangelists, dedicated training. So what looked like a good idea in the beginning to share some component between two projects became a nightmare within months or within years, because the original developers of the component didn't have time and budget to improve it. The developers which are using it were expecting that the component should have some progress and some new features, or at least bug fixing. And there were endless discussions about who should do this and whose fault is that. So when we productize those components, it's simple. Then it's the fault of the component of the product, and there's a dedicated person responsible for fixing this. So this is something that happened in the past years with the organization change, and that's a big advantage. But we still have to use it, and we still have to keep in mind that the only way how to share something between projects is through Product Hub, because that's the only way how to do it in long term efficiently. Otherwise you are just copy pasting code without any maintenance. So any code you copy paste becomes your code, and you are fully responsible for each line of code which you pasted into a product. It's possible, of course, but don't expect anything else, and don't require anything else from the original authors of the code. But you don't have to, because this process works. And again, the feedback which that came with says that this works quite efficiently, and all projects appraised that their requirements were fulfilled, that UU5 were improved, application server were improved, new components like message broker evolved because they were needed in some projects. So this is quite good.
Okay, and how the clients can benefit from all these points which we have discussed, because so far we have discussed mainly our internal motivation, why we created the framework, how do we want to work. And the key point for us is not our internal satisfaction by the good approach, by using the right components. Our satisfaction are our clients. That's mean that hundreds of clients which are in the enterprise and which trust us to deliver solutions, or millions of clients which are using our products and on-play products. If we believe successful to apply the components and to decrease the amount of hours which we spend to integrate these components to some serious solution, at the end the client will get much more higher value for the money. This means they will get more business functionality, because we have standardized process how to work, we have standardized components for logging, we have standardized approach how to deploy to cloud, we have standardized components or library of components for the front end, and so on and so on and so on. And that means that if we will use it, we'll apply it the right way, we spend clients' money for the business functionality, not for the research how to apply some technology. I don't say that the clients will get the solution cheaper, because our target is to spend their budget. And the major task is to provide added value and to be paid by this money. And if we want to have a product, of course it means that we have to spend some budget, our budget, to prepare the products and to provide our clients a business solution, and they pay for that. That's the major added value. The second added value is, we said, okay, we want to have this framework, we want to have this architecture, we want to deploy our solutions in this architecture, and we don't want to sell the architecture or the framework to the client. But we are able and we are ready to provide this framework to our clients, and they can develop the additional functionality on new solutions in this architecture, if they want. Of course, if they will follow license agreement, and if they will protect our rights and rights of libraries which we are using in the framework and so on. It's a standard. we are discussing time to time. Now we are discussing in the following point, very intensely in Slovenská spořitelna, and it's a vendor lock. Okay, it will be delivered in some unicorn framework. It's something specific. It's one thing where we can be locked, and we will rely on this technology. But to be honest, if they download some library from Turkish, I don't remember the name.
That's famous story from Škoda Auto. And, we discussed with them if they're using EU5 and it's vendor lock-in, and they said no, we were using Prime React. It's open source library known everywhere. But if you go to GitHub and look at this open source library, you find out it's developed in Turkey. The only commits which are there to the code are from the one company from Turkey. So where's the difference?
So we provide documentation, we provide source codes, we provide all this documentation, all these inputs. So the vendor log is just, okay, compare it with any other provider. Compare it to Microsoft, compare it to Oracle, compare it to Azure, compare it to any other company which provides some product. It's just the same. Even in case of Oracle database, they are logged the way that many of clients don't like it, because they don't have anything from Oracle, just the database. So this is a point which we have to know, and we have to collect all these views, and we have to be able to explain, okay, it's not a vendor. We are not locked more than we are locked with any other solution. So,
and I think we are ready for this. We have sufficient legal framework which gives clients all the rights, and which prevents the vendor lock-in even for commercial license of those components. They just need to want to hear this, because usually people which object and which are talking about this vendor lock are people which are threatened by this technology, and which they are afraid that they can lose their positions and they control on the IT within the company. So we have to sell to business, because the added value of this approach is mainly for business. Because we used to say that when we are developing first version of something, we carefully prepared our clients for that the first version will solve like 80% of non-functional like system requests, and just 20% of the business requests, because you have to set up the architecture, set up the process, you set up the deployment, set up everything. So it means that you spend huge money on the first version, and you will mostly get something you didn't want to, because you wanted the business functionality. And just 20% of the budget of the first version was spent on the business functionality. And when you build from scratch, it's always this. You can download anything you want, but it doesn't help you to make this better. So, but if you go this way, you can deliver 80% of business functionality in the first version, and this should be the difference. This should be the difference where we beat our competition, because Gigi said that we want to spend clients' budget, and that's not just our goal. Everybody wants to spend the budget of the client and take as much as he can. So each of our competitors, they don't want to get less from the client. Of course, they want to sell as much as possible. So the difference should be that when we spend the budget, the added value should be at least magnitude more that it comes from the others. Because when they spend it just for selling people, there should be difference, and there is difference, and it is visible. So we have to be able to show to the client in the sales process that there's this difference, and we should be able to sell this added value. But you sell it to business. It's extremely difficult to sell it to IT guys, because you are selling against tasks they want to achieve and against the control they want to have. So actually in those cases they become not our clients, they become our competitors. That's true.
And of course, this is our preferred way. There are some another alternatives way. We use many of our partner solutions. We follow some technological standards from our clients. But let's compare the difference to use this framework, the teams which are prepared for this framework with documentation, with process and everything, to alternative technologies. There is one significant difference, and it is that if you apply any other solution, you are responsible for the training, to find the right people, to replace the people if you have to replace them, to keep the communication with the partner, to train the people for new components, for new upgrades and so on. At the end, it means that it's only because of this reason any other alternative from our point of view is much more expensive, because there is no standard support. And because you work with the clients and you can compare the level of documentation and readiness of the people for the standard which we have here, which we present here, with any other solution. That means that we have to prepare everything, how to develop, to train the people, to spend a lot of money just for that, because its overhead is just to be about our readiness to prepare, to be able to develop solution. And it's not something which is provided as a standard service or central service, and you can just part of this specialized unit. We will do that, but it's some responsibility which is on the top of this architecture. More time, more money, more expensive solution. That means less functionality for the same budget. But in many areas, of course, we follow these partner solutions because we are not able to cover everything. But it's good to understand and to know this point, that this makes then our life more complicated than with the technology which we have here. What is important to understand is that we have to really keep this architecture as it is. Now we run a lot of discussions if the solution will be deployed in a new cloud, if it will be deployed in some another cloud, and so on and so on. And we have to understand the architecture. That's why we will, for this next 7 sessions, will explain you all these relations. Why is so important that our solution have to be deployed to EU cloud? Of course, we can deploy it to another cloud, but then allocate in your budget 2,000 hours to adapt our solution, which was developed in EU cloud because of development environment, was tested in EU cloud because of testing environment, and then we should operate it in some another cloud. That means, 2,000 hours, 3,000 hours to adopt it and to prepare the environment where we should operate our applications to be compliant or compatible with the EU cloud. Again, paid by the client. Again, some risk which we have to resolve. Again, time which we spend here. So we have to understand it, and we have to be able to explain to our clients, EU cloud is here, it's embedded in our solution, and we have to know how to deploy this EU cloud into the client's environment if it's necessary. It's the last option, but we have to know that. So please don't play the game. Okay, we will develop for you application in EU5, then we apply some business functionality for this our application server. Okay, if you have your own cloud, we will adopt it to your cloud. 3,000 hours spent by this place. Yes? Or we explain, okay, it's embedded, and we will adopt it different way. That means we will take this green plate and we will integrate it this way. So we don't change application, we don't change the architecture, but we do integration to the environment. And by the way, it's much more better to explain that, but we have very good experience and we have good practice how to create your cloud. So we can help them, we can sell them another consultancy, another service, and to create the cloud. That's the approach which you have to apply. Not to say, okay, you have standards, we will do that, we will change our applications, we will adopt everything. And we want to explain what are impacts of such decisions. Why we need to apply EU5 in full scope with CDN and so on. these are topics of the lessons or open sessions which will follow this one. Because you do these decisions, at least in Unicorn systems, to sell the solutions. In Product Hub, okay, it's clear there is no option. In Unicorn systems, there are unfortunately more options because we are communicating, we are discussing all these points with our clients, and they can have different views and different opinions. And of course, there are another alternative ways. This is not the only way how the solutions can be developed. It's our one. There are another ones. And for those of us which go through clients, we are facing these new alternative options. And we have to be strong enough, and we need to have enough arguments to explain that our approach is the best one in a given situation. It's not the only one, but for a given situation, it's the best one.
And each of you which goes to the client have to believe this, because it's very important. They have to see that you believe in that you are selling and you are offering the best. And if they see this, they will buy. If you are not persuaded and you are doing just because we want, you will not be successful in finishing the deal. So the belief in the architecture and in our products and in the approach is extremely important because it sells. I know because I do this. In the last year, I'm going around our most important clients. I'm explaining this approach and this architecture and the product approach again, and I think we have significant results from those meetings. So you have to trust, and that's very important. And other thing is that when you deploy, for example, to uCloud, it's not about 3,000 hours. It's about completely different risk distribution because you can deploy your final solution every day from the first day of the product and the project. So you start the communication with the client that you are downloading DevKit. You will start your application, set up the workspace. You will put the name and the logo of the application in there. You can add system use cases because they are made from pre-made components. They are there, so you can set up use cases for access rights. You can set up, 20 use cases which will be in the final solution. You can compile and deploy to the cloud, and you can send the link to your client the first day of the project. This sells like hell, This is something which counts, and you do this every day, and if you do this. Sometimes their persuasion that the final decision have to be deployed on premise just diminishes, and they stay with uCloud forever. So that's why it's important to develop everything in uCloud and show it in uCloud even to clients which are not persuaded they want to have it in cloud, because this is the best way how to sell it. Let them use it. Let them use it during the cooperation. Don't tell them you will not deploy to their final environment. Of course you will, because you signed the contract where it said it will be deployed on premise. But the contract conditions might change during the cooperation in this way, and it changes quite often.
We know that the deployment of the application to the cloud is first option is to operate it in our uCloud. But in enterprise clients, we face the situation they want at least partial data or some partial functionality. They want to operate on their premises or in their cloud because of regulations, because of many different reasons which can happen. And we are not focused in this production line to be able to deploy the applications to any place. We are focused to deploy the applications in uCloud. And this means that we are mainly focused to develop the applications, to use components, to use products and so on. And as we know that we have to be able to set up the uCloud on hybrid life, in hybrid environment, on extremely on-premise side, and we don't want to train and to educate all development teams for this knowledge. That's why we created Unicorn Systems A, the specialized unit, which is fully dedicated just to build up and to get knowledge how to create the environment in hybrid environment, on-premise environment, create this environment the way that we can deploy the applications. This means how to prepare the environment that the embedded Unicorn Universe Cloud is ready, and to integrate it with OpenShift or any just define the environment and to be able to deploy it. Because it's based on the split of IT, this means we have information systems, these are the UAPs, and we have infrastructure, that's on-premise infrastructure on cloud, save the environment where we run information systems. So we build up this unit which will be ready, which is now ready, and it will get in better conditions and better experience to support projects and to say, okay, if we have to create some hybrid cloud, we have to do this and this and this. Because all these development teams are focused to develop, and this unit is responsible and focused to prepare operation environment on the client side.
Which will be fully compliant with uCloud, of course.
But by the way, it's mandatory that if you want to create such environment, you have to go to this specialized unit, because they are specialized for that. That's their privilegium to go and to help you with it. And you have to ask for that, even for the proposal and so on and so on. So this is the way how we want to support this, mainly on the enterprise client side, because for Plus4U and on-click products and so it's relevant. You operate it in Plus4U, but for enterprise clients, it's important to have this this ability and not to make the life of development teams more complex. They are focused to develop applications this way, because the uCloud on hybrid life and a hybrid environment, it's about the operation.
Yeah. And again, from the license point of view, we don't push clients to buy a uCloud license. No, it's embedded. By the way, if you use any third-party component, any third-party library, you are automatically including their license agreement into your product. For anything you download from the internet, there's a license agreement, and it becomes natural part of the product. It doesn't matter if it's open source, or if it's paid, but it's there. If you use ParamQuery, we have enterprise license for that. If you incorporate ParamQuery into your solutions, it becomes part of the final solution, and the client automatically gets ParamQuery license, but the license allows him to use ParamQuery just with this product. Yes.
By the way, clients are used to apply this approach. It's not something new.
Yeah.
We sell Damas with Oracle application specific for use license. This means this license can be used only for Damas, not for anything else. And it's the same approach which we apply here with uCloud. Just use the uCloud for this solution, not for anything else. It's embedded and it's done.
And that applies to many other components in application framework. So there's no difference between if you get your component from Product Hub or if you download from the internet. It comes from the license. You have to fulfill license conditions. If you fulfill them for delivering the product, it's there. And there's no reason that we should negotiate the license conditions for those components, because we don't negotiate with them ParamQuery or Spring or any other component from third party we incorporate in the product, or MongoDB. And for many of those components, there are open source options, or I would say freeze options, because most of them don't have real open source license. There are paid options. It's up to you if you go with free Elasticsearch or if you buy some enterprise option for Elasticsearch, because it's necessary for your product and you incorporate in the final solution. So the approach with our components and with our products is the same. So we don't push clients to buy our products separately. There can be natural part of the solution as any other components. But on the other hand, we don't want to have them like second line, so they have the same rights as the third party components, and you have to treat them the same way. That's it.
Okay, I see that we have went through almost all points which we have prepared for today. So the last information for you is to give you information about the next open sessions, and so the next one will be about the architecture and the context, how it works internally, how it's the U5 relies on application server and so on. We will be discussing how to prepare the solutions, how to prepare proposals, how to work on all these points. The separate session will be how to work, how to cooperate with the software factory from product teams, how to cooperate from executive teams, and so on. We will discuss the pricing for the clients, for how to prepare the calculations for the product development, and so on. We will discuss, and you will be introduced by the products which we have in Product Hub, because if you want to design the solutions, you need to understand these products. If you play the game with the Lego bricks, you need to know which bricks are available. So this mandatory knowledge which will be introduced to you, and you see that this is not about programming, it's just to understand all this environment and to be able to work with it, to understand which bricks do we have, how to get them together, how to calculate what time do we need, what cost do we need, and so on and so on. So it's really done this way, which is ready, and we will continue in January next year.
I think this program will be most demanding for salespeople, because when you're selling products, it's completely different sales process. Because the most successful sales guys which are selling products are guys which are business consultants for the products, which do like selling. Because when you can come to the meeting, clients explains his problem, and you can at the same meeting tell him that we have a couple of products which are solving exactly what he needs, or almost exactly what he needs, or even if you are able to show, because everything is online and UCloud, so there's no reason why you couldn't show it just on the meeting. This is very, very high advantage in the sales process.
Well, that is the strategy that we originally had. I remember 2012, it was where we required sales personnel to be the skilled consultants, to understand the show, right? Because that was the original idea as to the level of business consultancy of salesmen.
It's still the same.
Yeah.
You know, the salesman life from some perspectives is the same, from some perspectives a little bit more complicated. 20 years ago we had just one product, custom software development. It was easy. Today we have so many solutions and so many products that it's not so easy that it's universal. You need to understand the business discipline. Doesn't matter if it's geoinformatics or if it's about retailers to implement LS1, or if it's about the banking, or if it's about transmission system operators, and so on and so on. So the salespeople need to understand the business. And if they understand it, okay, they have a chance to be successful salespeople, because it's about building up the relationship with the clients, and they like to build up the relationship. If they see that the meeting or the communication with you provides them some added value, then they spend time with you, and then they will have a chance to get information from them and to provide them information. And sales life is not just to push the information to the client. It's from my personal opinion, it's more than 50% of your time is to get information from the client. Because if you don't get information from the client, then you don't understand his struggles, and they are not able to react and to tell them and to moderate their needs and to explain why and how. That's the life of salespeople. But we have to understand this. And of course, 20 years ago we were like 100 people. Now we are 2,400 people. We have now about 50 salespeople in Unicon Systems, all the salesmen. And the sales teams are about 200 people. So it's completely different scope of work we do today than we did 20 years ago. And we have to be more specialized.
But on the other hand, for example, first contact is much easier with products, because when you just go to the client and you want to establish first contact based on tell me your problem, it might be quite difficult. But if you do your Googling right, you can find the right set of products which will most probably suitable for that type of client. And on the first meeting, you have a lot of things to show. You just don't need to ask what's your problem. You can say, look what we have.
You know, there is another change in sales life, and it's about the sales documents or sales materials we have. Because if we want to be successful, we have to prepare sales documents, presentations, and so on for everyday life. Maybe you remember that, I don't know if you remember, but David remember definitely that 20 years ago I was responsible for Unicorn distribution, and one of the most successful products we sold in the market were rational tools. And by the way, for each tool we got a CD, and there was installation for the tools, there was some demos and so on, and there was a sales kit. And it said which kind of clients are suitable clients for this, in terms of which kind of teams, which kind of companies, which roles are roles which you should ask for the meeting. Then the set of questions. Ask for this situation, ask for these problems, tell them this, tell them this, tell them this. It was much more easier for us to sell these tools rather than to think, okay, how we could sell these products. Because this sales kit was something was very, very efficient. For me, for Kasvachina, for David, for the presentation, then for the implementation, for everything. And it's something like that we have to create for our products. Because we don't want to have one salesperson for Damas, which keep everything in the head, and that's all we know about it. So it is a part of sales life to prepare these selling materials in cooperation of product people, or product people with executive people, and we have to work this way. And this is about the enterprise products. For the on-click products, this is a completely different story. It's more about the website, about the marketing, and so on and so on. It's a little bit different approach than we have to apply. But even in this enterprise, we have to prepare the documents and to share it with the people which are around the selling, within the selling team, and so on.
And prepare online demos, because there's no reason why our enterprise products shouldn't be on the internet in the EU cloud, available for online demos, online testing, because it's still the same.
With the rational tools, it was funny because you spent not 15 minutes, like 2 or 3 hours to implement all day suite with the demos, and there was script run this demo this way. It was good, and this online demos, it's just equivalent to something what we had 20 years ago, just on our own book, because there was no internet connectivity, there was no cloud, something which was not available.
Yeah, and our applications, by the way, especially the on-click applications, are the best sales channels for themselves. So the natural part of their use cases and of their design has to be the sales process, how to sell them. For example, when we are implementing some limits to applications, the most common way of any of you here is that when the application reaches the limits, we say, usually to administrator, not even to the end user, that it reached the limit and we stop operating. You know, or we even give him some message like he's so stupid that he's wasted all his space and now he's punished and he can't do anything without our help. Yeah. But the right approach is that, you know, further in the time we should tell him, you know, it's great that you are using the application so much that you reached 60% of your space, and it's the best day today to buy next license for your application. You know, next day we will tell him, if you buy in this hour, you can get 20% discount for the Excel license, and etc. So this is not website for the application. This is not a sales kit outside the application. It's not something for salesmen. It's the natural part and key part of the application itself. Yeah. So the application and the solution, which is on click, has to sell itself and have to sell its features more and more, and of course have to do it in the way that the end user and the customer of the application will see the added value of this approach. You know, because on the other hand, it's very easy to implement this in the way which is annoying and which will piss him off, and that he will led him to find some competition, and the competition for on-click application is just one click away, because you go just to the next website, you find out, you put to Google, find you book it alternative, Fortunately now it doesn't find anything, but it's not fortunate. It means that Bookit is not a successful product. But when it will be sure that Google will have answer on the first line with 10 other products which will give something similar to Bookit. So the competition is one click away, and you have to be very careful with your customers. But you have to sell them, because the cloud, the electricity, the internet, it will not pay for itself magically. Somebody has to pay, and the only one who can pay this is the one who is getting the added value from the product, and that's the customer. And he has to pay willingly, because he sees the added value and he knows it's worth it.
And the last comment from my side, which we discuss very frequently with the sales people, we don't need to have the best product in the world. We need to have our products, we have to trust in the product, and we need to know how to sell it. Because the best one is the question, who is the best one? Have you seen the competition of horses? They run this way, then the curve is this way. Okay, this one is the best one. Now this is the best one. They continue this way, and nobody knows who win at the end.
And at the end there is a železník.
So we
Of
have
course, there are
Ten
some
horses
exceptions.
we have our products, we have trust into our products, and just to be proud that we have these solutions, and that's part of our life.
But I think our products should be good enough to qualify for a Velká Pardubická every year. They don't have to always win, but they have to qualify. They have to be in the best 10s. That's true.
Surviving taxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not on the first run, but at least on the second.
There is no second run after the taxi trench.
It's not so dangerous anymore.
Okay, so I think it's all for today. So thank you for your attention, and enjoy this evening. I'm looking forward for Christmas.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,